Chris Hess is a star member of the First Parish Choir. When you hear someone singing in tune, that's him. He is a group leader here at First Parish, and in real life, he is a consultant in technology and social media. Please welcome Chris Hess.
One of life's great mysteries is understanding why other people love who they love. In early August of 1990, my girlfriend Jennifer and I packed up Boo Boo, my 1981 Volvo two-door DL, and we headed for Nova Scotia. This was before Sir Tim had got us all on the internet, so I didn't really know anything about Nova Scotia. I just thought it sounded cool. Nova. Scotia. Glenfiddich. Captain, the dilithium crystals. One thing I did know about Nova Scotia was that on Cape Breton Island there was a river called the Margaree. And the Margaree was one of the finest Atlantic salmon fisheries in the whole world. I fished, so I threw some fishing rods in the car, and Jennifer and I took off. A few days later, we found ourselves at an inn near the Margaree River, and I asked about the fishing when we checked in, and I learned quickly that this was a much bigger deal than I thought it was. I had to buy a provincial fishing license and a salmon permit and salmon tags. And the nice Canadian lady behind the desk said, "And you really ought to book our guide for tomorrow." And there was something about the way she said, "really," that convinced me. At breakfast the next morning, I poked my head into the kitchen to ask Jacques the chef if he would cook the salmon I was going to catch that day. And Jacques looked up from his chopping and said, "Try not to catch your ear." Jacques, I thought we were friends. We met up with our guide, Ed, at the car just as I was pulling out the fishing rods in the tackle box, and he looked at it and he said, "You can't use that stuff here." Turns out, the Margaree is fly fishing only. I'd never fly fished, but how hard could it be? I fished all my life. By now, how many of you realize that this story is not about my love affair with Jennifer? I don't know who that guy is. She's in this story, but it's not about her. This story is about my great second love affair with fly fishing. One of the great mysteries of love is understanding why people love who they love or what they love. I'm going to try to convince you that fly fishing is a silly way to fish, and then I'm going to tell you why I love it anyway. Here's a simple question. Why do we go fishing? You might be thinking, to catch fish. The fossil record shows that since time immemorial, humans have depended upon fly fishing to feed themselves, their families, their villages, and that's a huge lie. Cultures that depend on fish to feed themselves have nothing to do with fly fishing. They use nets or traps or spears or hooks baited with things that fish actually eat. Let's consider this question of bait. Bait fishermen put live worms on their hooks, live minnows, live eels, fish eggs. If they aren't using live bait, they're using something that looks just like live bait, and they're probably spraying stinky bait sauce all over it. Fly fishermen, on the other hand, tie feathers and fur to a hook to create an impressionistic stand-in of something that looks vaguely like something fish might eat. Bait fishing is like the impulse buy candy rack at the checkout counter in every grocery store. You know it's delicious. You know you want it. It's right there. All you have to do is grab it. Fly fishing is like starting a lemonade stand that sells fake lemonade made of Lego. How about the physics of fly fishing and regular fishing? Most fishermen tie something heavy onto a line that weighs almost nothing and throw it. Fly fishermen tie something that weighs nothing at all onto a line that weighs a lot, and they twirl it around like a lariat, and it falls silently. The world record for casting a spinning rod is almost 1,100 feet. The world record for casting a fly rod is about 300 feet, and on my very best day, I can cast a fly line about 100 feet. If reaching fish that are far from you is important, fly fishing is an awfully ineffective way to fish. Back to Nova Scotia. Ed the guide got us set up with waders and fly rods, and off we went to the Margaree River. Those aren't my waders. That's not my rod. They belong to Ed. As we were driving there, Ed told us that Atlantic salmon don't eat when they come back from the ocean. We were just trying to piss them off. So we spent the afternoon learning to cast, the morning actually, and the afternoon learning to cast. In the afternoon we had actual flies with hooks on them, and I pretty much understood that what Jacques was warning me about was very real as this hook was flying around my head. We caught nothing. We had no bites. From the standpoint of fishing as a way to get fish, it was a complete failure, and it was one of the best days of my life. I loved it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. On the way home from the vacation, we stopped at LL Bean and basically said, "Do what you do." And we got the whole setup. So began the obsession. Fly fishing is an almost endless assortment of threads you can unravel: fish behavior, bugs, fly tying, knots, rod building, freshwater, saltwater, all different kinds of casts: forward cast, roll cast, snap tee, double haul. The day I learned to double haul was one of the best days of my life. It's like right after my wedding and my kids being born. Ask fly fishermen why they love it, and you'll get all kinds of answers. Some love to fight fish. They have bumper stickers that say, "The tug is the drug." Right? Some people love to catch big fish. They live for the selfie. Right? You've seen a couple of those on my Facebook feed. Some count fish. Some guy will go to the greatest, most exotic location in the world and come back and tell you in the first sentence how many fish they caught. That's the one I really don't get. I know that I either caught 0 fish or more. As for me, on another August, 25 years later, I'm standing in a river pointed west. River's flowing toward me and to my left. Light's dying, the heat's off the water. There are black caddisflies coming up everywhere. And I look at the water, and there are little trout noses. It's going just sipping caddis off the surface of the water. Pull out some line, make my first cast. Too far right. Next cast. Ooh, right on him. About 8 feet right in front of the fish I'm looking at. I think he sees it. Thank you.